Hello everyone, it's Brett here, Lionheart84, and I was planning today to do quite a lengthy video on the pros or advantages of grafting. Not to talk about methods of grafting or demonstrate it, because I've only done one or two myself and I'm just learning, but there's an awful lot, there's a huge amount of advantages of grafting, and they massively outweigh the disadvantages. But I just thought that I was looking at this avocado and I thought I'd just raise the point that there is a downside to grafting as well. Now, this is my Mexicola Grand. I don't know what rootstock it's grafted to. I think it might be a Zutano, but I'm not 100% sure. I've had this one a couple of months now. It came from France, and I particularly wanted a Mexicola Grand because it's one of the hardier, cold hardy avocados. And of course, the downside of a graft is it depends more on the rootstock as to whether the plant's going to be hardy or not, because if the rootstock's not hardy enough, it doesn't matter how hardy the scion or grafted variety is, it's not going to survive if the cold kills the rootstock. But to my mind, there's a couple of main problems with grafting, both of which are clearly demonstrated on this particular avocado. Now, when you graft a plant like this, you immediately cause a weak spot, because you get a lot of scar tissue here, and one of there's two or three disadvantages of this. When you graft it together, obviously you're trying to get the scion and the rootstock to join successfully with each other, so that the water and nutrients and sap can travel up the stem uninterrupted. But one of the disadvantages of the grafted areas, you do tend to get a lot of scarring, which over a period of time will swell up and cause this sort of brown tissue here, which can eventually cause the death of the scion if it doesn't allow the waters and the sap and sugars to travel up and down the stem. Now, you can see here I've got an issue with this one. Sorry, it sounds like the neighbours decided to use power tools. This has clearly got some disease starting in this area of the graft, and they are very prone to bruising and then disease starting. Now, I should probably spray this with something. Now, this could be an actual fungal growth, or it could be damaged tissue where the plant is trying to push out things to repair the tissue, and it could also be possibly salts or other chemicals that the plant has got in it, and they've tried to travel up the stem or down the stem, and they've got interrupted by the scar tissue, so they're being forced out of the bark instead. So what I'll probably do is spray this with some kind of fungicide, which may or may not work, and then you've just got to keep an eye on it. There is very little you can do if the graft fails on your plant, and invariably failures can be caused by weakness in the roots, because if you have a problem with the root system of your grafted plant, with the rootstock, the first thing it'll do is cut off nutrients to the grafted area, which is why you quite often get the scion die off on certain plants that are grafted. And also, of course, this is the weakest part of the plant in the event of sun damage or cold damage. You can see this is, I can't remember what these sort of side grafts are called like this. It's not a cleft graft, which is probably what I would use, because I'm not capable of doing one of these. But when you do this sort of slanted graft like that, it's not always going to be easy to bind it closely together, although perhaps that's what they think is better to use for avocados. But I would probably use a cleft graft, because I've got more chance of getting some of the bark to mate. But nevertheless, this is not ideal when you see these sort of issues. It's quite possible that I could just I might be able to just scrape this off if it's salts, but as I said, if this is a bacterial or fungus infection rather than just leaking salts or chemicals coming out the plant, then probably this should be sprayed. So I'm going to do that in a minute and we'll see what happens. So anyway, that was the main disadvantage of graft. There are other disadvantages, but I particularly wanted to feature this avocado because of the apparent damage there. It does have some growth buds on it further up, but of course we're in January, so I'm not going to see any growth in January. But if the graft joint fails, obviously this grafted variety will die off, and I'll end up with just a rootstock. I'm tempted when spring comes that I don't really want to start cutting this back. I might be tempted to take one of these shoots off and try and graft it onto one of my seedling bacon or fuerte plants, so that if this graft happens to fail, then I might have a backup plant. As I said, it's only a very small scion on this, so I don't really want to be cutting it off, but if it means having a backup plant, it might be worth doing. So that's my thoughts on the main disadvantage of grafts, and that's disease and scar tissue and the graft failing, so which results in the death of the grafted variety. So thanks for watching. Please do comment below. I welcome your comments and thoughts. Give me a thumbs up, share the video if you think anybody else would be interested, subscribe to my channel, click on the bell of course if you'd like to know when new videos come out, which at some time will be the much longer video where I'm going to try and talk about the various advantages of grafting and why people like to graft so much. So I'll see you all soon. Brett out for now.